So there's an update with the situation involving a federal agent named Gloria at the Mark Hotel. This is the same hotel that Drake had stayed at, where the security guard Ebony Prince obtained the items for Meet the Grams, where he insinuates that all of this creepy stuff with Drake has taken place. All these creepy things, questionable things that happen with celebrities when they stay at this hotel are being protected by this federal agent Gloria, is what I'm assuming he's hinting at. And he was working with her because he was a security guard and she is a federal agent that is there looking after the hotel and the guests that stay there. So of course he's going to look after Drake or any VIP guest that happens to be there at that time. But the updates that he's given us right now is showing us that there's more to it than just her watching over Drake. There's other things that she does for the hotel to make sure that they don't report anything that goes on here to the police. And it could be crazy things, a crazy amount of things. And we're just going to get into this report where he discusses how this federal agent named Gloria has been there through all of these incidences, has been there countless times, and has been trying to sweep things under the rug. I think it's very crazy also how Kendrick has a song named Gloria, and he's also someone who received the items from Ebony Prince, somebody who received the items from Meet the Grams that were at the Mark Hotel, where this person, Gloria, is at protecting. It makes you think, is he referring to this Gloria, this federal agent? Remember what he said on Meet the Grams. There's a lot of people out here trying to police it. All of these artists are on some weird stuff, and these people out here are trying to police it, trying to hide it, protect it. And it seems like Gloria is giving this impression now with these new updates. It started off when Ebony Prince had brought up this incident report involving a guest drinker who had fell at the Mark Hotel. This person wasn't supposed to be drinking. They weren't at the right age. They were at 19. It's almost noon in all of America. Young Theodore in SS Law Group. Are you ready? Fun fact, I always choose war. And Theodore is somebody that we talked about. Theodore Weintraub is somebody who is suing the Mark Hotel because of a situation that involves him in the hotel. And he's been going at it back and forth with them since. And it's because he was drinking at the hotel when he wasn't of age either. He was also 19 or 20 around the time where he got caught drinking. But this is a separate incident that took place with another individual. But it's establishing a pattern that the Mark Hotel allows people who aren't 21 to be drinking at their establishment. How do you get away with this twice? We have Theodore Weintraub, who was already accused of that. And then we have the Mark Hotel with this incident report, Ebony Prince with this incident report, proving that somebody else was doing the same thing that Theodore got kicked out for. But in a way, I think that this was him trying to help Theodore, because once he gave us the information, he let off this clue right here. He said to young Theodore, this is called a practice and pattern of aiding in the delinquency of youngins. Shame, shame. You have one assignment: destroy them, which I'm assuming he's referring to Theodore and his lawsuit against the Mark Hotel. And the reason why this is important, right? And I've said this in a recent video, Theodore's lawsuit against the hotel could possibly reveal the names and guests that have been staying there and the people that have been covering up stuff at this hotel. And again, this is the hotel that Drake had stayed at. This is where he accuses him of doing all this creepy stuff, where he got the items. But not only Drake, but all of the other people that could have been doing something here, that have been hiding stuff here, federal agents named Gloria that have been in multiple incident reports covering up all of the crazy shenanigans that have been going on at this hotel. And in this incident report, he is showing you that there is a pattern of youngins doing stuff that they're not supposed to at this hotel. And in this case, it would be drinking to the point where you just fall flat on your face. Now, this individual in this report is Kellen Corona. Now, Kellen Corona is somebody that's named on here. He's the person that they had called out for them to look after because of his drunken stage that he was in. They had to go out and try to assist him, talking about Ebony Prince security and the armed officer Gloria. This is the report that they're sharing. You know, it says here that he was bleeding from his nose. This is around Christmas time of 2022. You can't see that his name is Corona, but Ebony Prince was kind enough to drop a clue, which I feel like he watches the stream. At this point, he says, as for the last name, ¿Quieres un cerveza?, which is basically you want a beer, but really, I think he's posting a picture of Corona to show that that's this individual's last name, or at least the guest that's in question right now that wasn't supposed to be drinking. It says at approximately 05 hours on Friday, December 23rd, 2022, security officer Tracy radioed to the security base a report of a drunken man in the bar that he was flagged down to escort out by bartender LF. L stated that the guy had way too much to drink and that she had to cut him off, but he had gotten a little nasty when security officer Tracy first approached Mr. Corona. He refused to answer any questions, such as he was a hotel guest and if he would like help to his room, and refused to exit the bar when asked. armed officer Gloria, and it says her last name, but it's covered up. I think it's Chavez. I'm not sure if it's Chavez. You could tell me in the comments about that. But this is what it says. Armed officer Gloria and security officer K were immediately called to assist security officer Tracy with Mr. Corona. Mr. Corona finally exited the bar at 07 hours and immediately fell into the lobby floor between the lobby doors and the bar doors. When Mr. Corona got up from his fall, he was bleeding from his nose. Mr. Corona was offered towels for his bleeding and asked if he wanted medical attention, to which he responded by getting up and running out of the hotel. When security officer K came to relieve FLSD Walker, which is Ebony Prince, in the base, Ebony Prince and armed officer Gloria went to locate Mr. Corona as the weather was nasty outside. And judging by the fact that he had no coat or checked into the coat check, there was a high probability that he was indeed a hotel guest. When Mr. Corona was located on the corner of 77th Street and 5th Avenue, barely standing while holding onto a pole of a building scaffolding, he was obviously very intoxicated, and Mr. Corona again refused to identify himself, and it took nearly 15 minutes to coax him back into the hotel under the guise that he needed to appropriately allocate his bar bill. Otherwise, it may be considered theft, since he wouldn't identify himself as a true hotel guest, yet asked for drinks to be charged to a room. During the walk back towards the hotel, Mr. Corona had displayed a few violent behaviors, such as punching and slapping towards armed officer Gloria. He's using her last name, but it's Gloria, and FLSD Walker. Mr. Corona even attempted to enter 3 East 77th Street on multiple occasions, stating that he lived there. Eventually, Mr. Corona was brought back to the hotel, sat on the couch in the lobby to collect himself while we figured out exactly who he was so that his family could be notified of the distress that he was in and come into the lobby to help him. Mr. Corona was repeatedly offered coffee, tea, and water, which he refused. Though Mr. Corona initially resisted identifying himself for a further 10 to 15 minutes, he eventually gave his identification once he was informed that his behavior of spitting in the lobby would not be tolerated, and having to call the police on him would ruin his family's vacation, and nobody wanted that. Very interesting how they're trying to point out that they don't want to ruin his family's vacation, even though he's already attempted to assault an officer, an armed officer, and multiple security guards, and spitting. That's already assault. If you spit, that's already a charge technically. But it's kind of crazy how they're just giving him a lot of leeway. You know, it is strange, though. And his name was relayed to the front desk manager on duty, Mr. M. Yancey, who was asked to contact whoever was associated with the guest and to scan the room key he had in his possession to see which room he had checked into so that the other occupants of the room could come and assist their relative. During this period, Mr. Corona stood up and said that he had to pee and that he was going to pee right there in the lobby. Mr. Corona was told that he would not be allowed to do that, but he would be taken to the bathroom on the second floor. And to hold it in really briefly, FLSD Walker, which is Ebony Prince, had then walked to Mr. Corona to the elevator and took him to the second floor to use the men's restroom. Security officer Tracy was then instructed to watch Mr. Corona in the restroom while Ebony Prince and Gloria and MOD Yancey tried to reach an emergency contact or next of kin for Mr. Corona. As there was no emergency contact on the file for the room Mr. Corona was checked into, MOD Yancey was asked to check every room associated with the 4 rooms this group had on house and try to reach someone. So at the very least, if he had to go to the hospital or worse, jail, if he continued to be violent when first responders showed up, his family would have a clue to what was happening with him. Eventually, someone in Mr. Corona's family was reached, and they stated that it was his father who would be on his way to assist and that they lived a few blocks away. So one thing to take notice, they say that he was associated with 4 rooms. It says that MOD Yancey was asked to check every room associating with the 4 rooms this group had on house. But when his father shows up, it says that his father lived a few blocks away. So who was he staying in the rooms? Was it really his family? Was it friends? I'm not sure. But it is strange how they're saying, oh, you don't want to ruin your family's vacation, or I don't want to ruin my family's vacation. But your family's not even there. Your dad's not even there. He's going to the hotel to help you. Who are you staying at the hotel with? Very questionable. While everyone was trying to contact his relatives in the lobby, security officer Tracy stated that Mr. Corona had fallen again very hard in the men's restroom. Ebony Prince and armed officer Gloria again reported to the men's restroom to assist and found that Mr. Corona was still laying on the bathroom floor. Mr. Corona was assisted to his feet again, and he slightly held his composure before falling on the floor again. At that point, it was decided to watch over Mr. Corona as the EMS had already been dispatched, and there was no reason why he should need to stand anymore. A constant watch was kept over Mr. Corona, as well as constant communication. An example, calling out his name, asking if he was okay, as well as letting him know his father and the EMS were on the way. Mr. Corona's father, Mr. J. Corona Sr., arrived first and stated that he would prefer to just get his son up to his room and let him sleep it off there. Once Mr. Corona realized that his son basically had no motor skills left, he consented that it would be best for his son to be checked by the EMS. They arrived Lenox Hill Hospital, driven by EMT Blank and other, arrived on the site 01110 hours to assess Mr. Corona's situation. It was determined that although the EMTs can simply take him to his room, it would be in his best interest to go to the hospital and get checked out due to the amount of times he has hit his head and the fact that no one knows for sure whether it was alcohol alone or if it was something else that may be at play. I'm assuming they're trying to say that he could have been off of something else besides alcohol. It was at this time of the EMT's questioning of Mr. J. Corona about his son that he revealed that his son was only 19. It was also at this time that Mr. J. Corona stated that he didn't believe that his son would take any sort of drug. He said that he had a family holiday party at their home on Fifth Avenue. Mr. Corona also stated that Mr. Kellen Corona was sober when he left the family's holiday party. Mr. J. Corona seemed to only take issue with the fact that his son may have been served too many drinks and not that his son was served any alcohol at all. It should also be noted that two of the bartenders stated that Mr. Corona had been drinking earlier in the day with the man that stated to be his father. As Mr. Corona was explaining the happenings of the evening, the EMT informed him that they would have to strip his son of the clothes that were soiled by vomit and transport him to the emergency room. Eventually, and after thanking the staff and handling his son respectfully, Mr. Corona retrieved some of his clothes from his room and accompanied his son to the ambulance on their way to Lenox Hospital. And I think the thing that takes me away from this, like I said, the dad, his actual father, and the reason why I say actual father, had showed up there because he wasn't at the hotel. And he said that they had a holiday party at his home that was a few blocks away. And that Mr. Corona, his son, he was sober when he left the house. But when he got there, the staff said that he had been drinking, which is strange because his dad is saying that he wasn't drunk before he left the house. The weird part is that when he was drinking at the Mark Hotel, when he was at the bar, they said that he was drinking with a man that stated to be his father, but his father was never there. His father was a few blocks away at their original home. So who was the guy that he was with, and why was he saying that he was his father? It doesn't really make any sense. Why would you drink with somebody that's older than you and is claiming to be your father, and then your father has to get called and say that he doesn't know what's going on? Unless I'm missing something here, you could tell me in the comments, but it is strange how they're saying that he had been drinking, but then his dad said that he was never drinking to begin with. And now they're saying that he was with his dad when his dad was never there to begin with either. I feel like if I'm missing something, you could tell me. But for sure, they do have pictures of the incidents right here. You can see that the bar is pretty packed with people. This is the lobby, and the lobby looks pretty empty, but I guess this is where he had fell. And I think I've seen these pictures before previously, that this is Kellen entering the bar. This is Kellen escorted from the bar. Kellen falls in this frame, and then he falls again in this frame. And then that's when he walked to the restroom, which I'm assuming he walked with, I think it was Tracy or with Ebony Prince, one of the two. And then here comes his father into the hotel lobby trying to figure out what's going on. And that's when they put Kellen on the stretcher. And he had showed these pictures a while back without any implication of what it meant. But now we know what it truly means. There is a pattern. There is a big pattern that you're starting to see here. This hotel has a lot of weird activity going on. There's a lot of things happening at this hotel that shouldn't be happening at all. Why is there so many people, not just Theodore Weintraub, but why is there other individuals that are being caught drinking when they're not supposed to, when they're not even 21? How are they having so many incidences of people drinking that are not of age? How does it even get to that point? And this is what he said also. Don't forget that the current federal agent, Gloria, witnessed this entire ordeal. And this is crazy because when we went live yesterday, we were talking about her being a former New York PD officer and then being a current federal agent. And then the following day, he makes this post saying that she's a current federal agent, almost like if he's responding to the live that we did yesterday. Pretty intriguing, pretty interesting at this point. I feel like he's watching us break this down. But if he could drop more clues, I'd much appreciate it, because at this point, it is really establishing a pattern here. There is a lot of things at this hotel that aren't supposed to be happening at all. At this point, I am convinced that Ebony Prince does want to help Weintraub in some sort of way to get back at the hotel. I think they both have a vendetta against the hotel. That's something that we could say they have in common. The way that he's trying to word things for Theodore Weintraub, saying that they're establishing some type of pattern of illegal activity or suspicious activity, it seems like he's trying to give him some type of lob or some type of assistance for the current case that Weintraub is going through. Right here, he said, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Even a broken clock is right twice per day. With the post from Patch saying that the boozy UES teens kept Swanky Hotel afloat, says accused hotel bully. Theodore Weintraub now claims that he's an underage whistleblower and that the Mark Hotel is trying to silence him. So, given this post and the other posts, it seems like Ebony Prince is trying to, in a way, look out for Theodore Weintraub and his case. But it's funny because we just read the report, right? And the report is basically telling us that Ebony Prince worked close with Agent Gloria, federal agent Gloria. And even though they worked together, I feel like she did Ebony Prince dirty. At least that's what he's trying to explain in these posts. Because then he shares this post right here. And he said, rule number always plan for betrayal by never revealing all of your cards or true thoughts. So could it be possible that when Ebony Prince had sent all of the items to Kendrick Lamar, when he sent the pictures of the Meet the Grams items to Kendrick, and then Drake had reported the items stolen and it falled back on Ebony Prince, did the hotel or did the federal agent Gloria get him out the paint? Did they fire him? Did they remove him? And was it something that he became a conflict of interest of, and federal agent Gloria or the people that he was working with at the time couldn't back him up and they had to let him go because he kind of exposed the situation with Drake being at the hotel? I'm not sure, but when he talks about betrayal, it makes me feel like he was talking about Gloria and the hotel itself betraying him, even though he's been keeping their secrets quiet on the low for this long time, just for them to come back and get him fired once he sent the pictures of Drake to Kendrick Lamar. I'm not sure, but maybe he's trying to align himself with Theodore Weintraub because of the lawsuit that he has against the hotel. Maybe he's spreading this information out to try to help him out in his case, maybe to try to get revenge for him, because he keeps saying to make them burn, make them pay, destroy the machine. And I guess the machine would be the Mark Hotel in this case. Federal agent Gloria is probably somebody who protects the hotel. This feels like Dark Tower all over again. I was saying on the live, the Dark Tower is the Mark Hotel, the protector, the gunslinger is federal agent Gloria, and Drake is Pennywise at this point. But y'all could tell me how you feel about this and get back to me. We'll go over and discuss it more in depth on the live. This is just more of a quick update about this case, the Mark Hotel, Ebony Prince, Drake, this federal agent, her protecting the hotel, protecting the VIP guests, Richard Fitzenwell. I'm pretty sure she hasn't only protected Drake, she's protected other celebrities that have stayed at this hotel. They keep turning a blind eye to all these crazy things. Kind of weird, kind of shady. Weird how the police were never involved, only EMS. But y'all can tell me in the comments how you feel about this. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video, man. Peace. Keep it alleged.